Banya Paramigam Namo Gungang Banya Paramigam Namo Gungang Banya Paramigam Kegang Mugang Jimmy Melbourne Jomangam Nanju Agamangan the Juji Rajin Shiri of Jangji no Marana Marada Benya Bunyoshi Amon Shepard Jackabi Cookies on your debut. 1200 합전공경이 백구런 이유세준열의 돈은남자보살금부족제보살여금제청당이야 살선남자선여인 바라녀다라선명 간보리지몽나주낭목이심 불고 수보리 여여소선열의 선남자보살금부족제보살여금제청당이야 살선남자선여인 바라녀다라선명 간보리지몽하시지여신연목이심 유여세중원여용문제선영년분 불고 사는 여시양 목이 김소유 제중생주류 영남생약해생약술사 약과생약유생약무생약유상약무상약 비유상비무상하게 영인무일 열반이만 도지여지만 도모량무소모변조세신모윤생생멸고장 하이구수구리약무살유화상인상중세산수야상 영무비범상 두두두두두. Okay, this is far as I remember. Okay, bring it up. Dum, dum, dum. How to make concrete now. 원효영문대선전전부부구수부리제부가마사능야시양목이심소유열체지류영남생약대생약수생약 화생약유생약무생약유상영무상약 비윤상비무상하게 영인무열반이말도시야시면도무상무수모변중생실모중생생명도시. I live in Canada. I'm origin from South Korea. Anyway, I'm praying in Asian 열애 선호는 제부살 선부저 제부살 세준선 남자 선녀인 바라뇨다라. Let me speak the language in English so anyone can understand what it means. Learning English, no. Let me go find. Okay, there you go. It just came up. The occasion of the Dharma assembly. Thus, I have heard, at one time the Buddha was staying at the Jetavana Anathapindika's park in the kingdom of Sravasti, together with the great assembly of 1,250 monks. I believe in Jesus Christ. When it was time for the meal, the world-honored one put on his robe, took his alms bowl, and entered the city of Sravasti to collect their alms, going from house to house. After collecting alms, he returned to his dwelling, completed his meal, put away his robe and bowl, washed his feet, arranged his seat, and sat down. Swarty recast the teaching. At that time, the elder Swarty, who was among the assembly, rose from his seat, bared his right shoulder, knelt on his right knee, joined his palms in reverence, and addressed the Buddha. Rare and wondrous it is, Tathagata, that you care for the all bodhisattvas and entrust them with your instructions, world-honored one. How should a virtuous man or woman who has given rise to the mind of a Anyaktara Samyak Samburi abide in that awakened mind, and how should they subdue their afflicted mind? The Buddha said, well said, Swarty. As you have said, the Tathagata cares for all bodhisattvas and entrusts them with instruction. Now listen carefully, for I shall explain this to you. A virtuous man or woman who has given rise to the mind of Anyaktara Samyak Samburi should abide in their awakened mind thus and subdue their afflicted mind thus. Yes, world-honored one, I eagerly wish to hear it. The true principle of Mahayana. The Buddha said to Swarty, all bodhisattvas, mahasattvas, who should subdue their afflicted mind in this way. All kinds of sentient beings, whether born from eggs, wombs, moisture, or transformation, whether with forms or without form, whether with thoughts, without thoughts, or neither or nor without thoughts, I shall lead them to the nirvana of liberation and deliver them. Yet, even though countless sentient beings are thus delivered, in truth, not a single sentient being is delivered. Why is this, Swarty? Because if a bodhisattva holds a notion of a self, others, sentient beings, or longevity, they are not a bodhisattva. The wondrous practice without abiding. Furthermore, Swarty, a bodhisattva should practice giving without abiding by any phenomenon. They should provide without abiding by form and not accept sound, smell, taste, touch, or any phenomenon while giving. Swarty, a bodhisattva should give in this way without abiding by appearances. Why? Because if a bodhisattva gives without abiding in appearances, their merit is so vast that it cannot be measured by thoughts. Swarty, what do you think? Can the emptiness of the eastern direction be fully measured by thoughts? No, it cannot. World-honored one. Swarty, can the emptiness of the southern, western, northern, intermediate direction, or the emptiness above and below be fully measured by thoughts? No, it cannot. World-honored one. Swarty, the merit of the bodhisattva who gives without abiding in appearances is likewise immeasurable by thoughts. Swarty, a bodhisattva should abide as taught, seeing the truth of reality. Swarty, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be seen through his physical form? No, world-honored one. The Tathagata cannot be seen through his physical form. Why? Because the form that the Tathagata speaks of is not truly form. The Buddha said to Swarty, all phenomena are illusory. If you see all phenomena as a true forms, then you see the Tathagata. True faith in the final age is rare. Swarty said to the Buddha, world-honored one, Will there be a sentient beings who, upon hearing such words or verses, can give rise to the true faith? The Buddha said to Swarti, do not say such things. Even 2,500 years after the Tathagata has passed, there will be those who uphold the percept and cultivate merits, capable of giving rise to the faith in these words and verses and regarding them as genuine. Know this, such a person has not only formally planted goodness under one, two, three, four, or five Buddhas, but has already established scarce roots of the goodness on the countless millions of Buddhas. Hearing these verses will give rise to pure faith in a single moment of thought. Swarti, the Tathagata fully knows and sees that all such sentient beings will attain immeasurable merit in this way. Why? Because these sentient beings no longer hold notion of self, others, sentient beings, or longevity, nor do they hold notion of truth or false teachings. Why? If these sentient beings grasp at any appearances in their mind, they will cling to notion of self, others, sentient beings, or longevity. If they grasp the idea of truth, they will still be caught in notion of a self, others, sentient beings, or longevity. If they grasp the idea of false teaching, they will likewise be taught in those same notions. Therefore, you should neither cling to actual teachings nor false teachings. This is why I have always told you, monks, know that the Dharma I teach is like a raft. Even the truth must be let go of. How much more so false teachings? Nothing attained, nothing spoken. Swarti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata attained Anaktara Samyak Sambodhi? Has the Tathagata spoken any Dharma? Swarti said, as I understand the meaning of what the Buddha has said, there is no fixed truth called Anaktara Samyak Sambodhi, nor has the Tathagata spoken any fixed Dharma. Why? The truth spoken by the Tathagata cannot be grasped or expressed. It is neither true nor non-true. Why? Because all enlightened sage and saints differ from other due and their transcendence of the relative world through the unconditioned absolute Dharma. All rises from this truth. Swarti, what do you think? If a person filled the trenchicalism of the seven treasures and gave them widely in charity, how great would their merit be? Swarti said, very great, well-honored one. Why? Because this merit is not the inherent nature of merit. The Tathagata says it is a great merit. The Buddha said, if another person upheld even just 4 lines from this sutra and explained them to others, their merit would be far surpassed. And the former, wise Swarti, because the Anaktara Samyak Sambodhi of all Buddha arises from this sutra. Swarti, called the Buddha's Dharma, is not truly the Buddha's Dharma. The absolute Dharma is not a being. Swarti, what do you think? Would a stream anterior think I have attained the fruits of a stream entry? Swarti said, no, world-honored one. Why? Because the stream anterior is merely a name for entering the flow of the holy ones. Yet in reality, nothing is entered, neither form, sound, smell, taste, touch, nor any phenomena. It is only called stream anterior. Swarti, what do you think? Would a once returner think I have attained the fruit of once returning? Swarti said, No, well done, old one. Why? Because one returner is merely a name for whom returns once, yet in reality there is no thought of going or returning. It is only called once returner. Sporty, what do you think? Would a non-returner think, I have attained the fruit of non-returning? Sporty said, no, well done, old one. Why? Because non-returner is merely a name for one who does not return. Yet in reality there is no thought of non-returning. It is only called non-returner. Sporty, what do you think? Would an Arhat think I have attained the path of an Arhat? Sporty said, no, Warlord one. Why? Because if an Arhat thought I have attained the path of an Arhat, they would be clinging to notion of a self, others, sentient beings, or longevity. Now, Warlord one. You have said I have foremost among those who have attained the Samahi, free from contention, the first among those who have abandoned desire as an arhat. Yet, well done, old one, I do not think I am an arhat who has abandoned desire. Well done, old one, if I thought I have attained the path of an arhat, you would not have said that Swarty delights in the practice of solitude. Because Subharti truly has no thought of practicing solitude. You have said that Subharti delights in the practice of solitude, or adorning a pure land. The Buddha said to Subharti, Subharti, what do you think? Did the Tathagata attain any truth while in presence of Dimpakara Buddha in the past? No, well done, old one. The Tathagata did not attain any truth while in the presence of Dimpakara Buddha. Svorti, what do you think? Does a Bodhisattva adorn a Buddha land? No, well done, old one. Why? Because the adornment of the Buddha land by Bodhisattva is not truly adornment. It is merely called adornment. Therefore, Svorti, all Bodhisattva Mahasattva should give rise to the Pure Land in this way. They should not give rise to a mind abiding in form, nor should they give rise to mind abiding in sound, smell, touch, or any phenomenon. Svorti, for example, if a person's body were as large Mount Sumeru, what do you think? Would that body be considered significant? Large? Svorti said, very large. Well done, old one. Why? Because the Buddha has said that what is not a body is called a large body. Immeasurable great merit. Svorti, if there were any Ganges rivers as grains of sand in Ganges, what did you think? What do you think? Would the sands in all those Ganges rivers be numberless? Svorti said, very numberless, were the old one. Even the number of Ganges river alone would be countless. How much more so the sands within them? The Buddha said, Svorti, I now tell you truly, if a virtuous man or woman filled as many trinchilocusts as there are sands in those Ganges rivers with the 7 treasures and gave them widely in charity, how great would their merit be? Svorti said, exceedingly great. Well done, old one. The Buddha said to Svorti, if a virtuous man or woman upheld even just 4 lines from this sutra and explained them to others, their merit would be immeasurably greater than the former. Devouring the true teaching. Furthermore, Svorti, if even those 4 lines from this sutra are explained, know this, That place will be one where all beings of the world, gods, humans, and asuras should make offerings, as they would to a Buddha's stupa or temple. How much more so if a person can fully uphold, read, and recite this sutra? Swarti, know this. Such a person has attained the highest, most supreme, and rare truth. Whether the sutra is present, it is as if the Buddha is there, or as if a revered disciple of the Buddha's is there, upholding it according to the Dharma. At that time, Swarti said to the Buddha, World Honored One, what should this sutra be called and how should we uphold it? The Buddha said to Swarti, this sutra is called the Dharma Diamond Kumgangbanya, and you should uphold it as such. Why? Because the Kumgangbanya, perfection of wisdom spoken of by the Tathagata, is not truly Kumgangbanya. It is merely called Kumgangbanya. Swarti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata spoken any truth? Swarti said to Buddhas, World Honored One, the Tathagata has not spoken anything. Swarti, what do you think? Are the countless particles of the dust intrinsic coalescent numbers? Swarti said, very numerous. World Honored One, the Buddha said, Swarti, the Tathagata says that all these dust particles are not truly dust. They are merely called dust. The Tathagata says that a word is not truly a word, but merely called a word. Swarti, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be seen through the 32 marks of a great being? No, World Honored One, the Tathagata cannot be seen through the 32 marks of a great being. Why? Because the 32 marks of a great being spoken of by the Tathagata are not truly marks. They are merely called marks. The Buddha said, Swarti, if a virtuous man or woman gave away as many lives as they are sands in the Ganges River in charity, and another person upheld these even just 4 lines from this sutra and explained them to others, the latter's merits would be far greater than the former. Tranquil cessation free from all forms. At that time, Swarti, upon hearing the words of this sutra, deeply realized its meaning, shed tears, and wept softly. He then spoke to the Buddha. Truly extraordinary, world honored one, what the Buddha expounded such a profoundly deep sutra. I, in all my past lives up to this moment, with the eye of wisdom I have cultivated, have never heard such a sutra before. World honored one, if a person hears this sutra and gives rise to the pure faith, then the realm of true reality will manifest for them. It should be known that such a person has surely attained the most extraordinary merits. World honored one, this realm of true reality is not a phenomenon or a concept, and therefore the Tathagata has named it the realm of true reality. Yet, world honored one, for me to hear this sutra, believe it, understand it, and uphold it is not difficult. However, if in the future, 2500 years from now, there are sentient beings who hear this sutra, believe it, understand it, and uphold it, those people will genuinely be the most extraordinary. Why is this so? Because the notion of the self is not an absolute concept, nor are the notion of others, sentient beings, or longevity absolute concept. Why? Because what is called a Buddha is precisely that which has let go of all concept entirely. The Buddha said to Swarti, so it is, so it is. If there is again a person who hears this sutra and is neither shocked, frightened, nor fearful, know this, such a person is truly extraordinary. Why is this so, Swarti? The supreme perfection, paramita, that the Tathagata speaks of is not the supreme perfection. It is merely called supreme perfection. Swarti, the perfection of patience that the Tathagata speaks of is not the perfection of patience. It is merely called perfection of patience. Why is this so, Swarti? When in the past King Kali dismembered my body, at that time, I had no notion of self, no notion of others, no notion of sentient beings, and no notion of longevity. When my limbs were severed joint by joint, if I had notion of a self, others, sentient beings, or longevity, I would surely have given rise to anger and resentment. Swarty, recall also that in the past for 500 lifetimes I practiced as a sage of patience. Even then, I had no notion of self, no notion of others, sentient beings, and no notion of longevity. Therefore, Subodhi, a bodhisattva should let go of all concepts and awaken the mind of unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Anyakdara Samyak Samburi. They should not give rise to a mind attached to forms, nor should they give rise to mind connected to sound, smell, taste, touch, or any phenomena. They should give rise to a mind that abide nowhere. Even if there is abiding in the mind, it is not genuinely abiding. Thus, the Tathagata says that a bodhisattva should give charity without being attached to forms. Subordinate, a bodhisattva should provide in this way to benefit all sentient beings. Yet, the Tathagata says that all concepts are not concepts, and all sentient beings are not sentient beings. Subordinate, the Tathagata speaks the truth, one who speaks reality, one who speaks what it is, one who does not speak falsehood, and one who does not say otherwise. Subordinate, the truth that the Tathagata has attained, this Dharma, is neither real nor unreal. Subordinate, if a bodhisattva gives charity while their mind abide by some phenomenon, it is like a person in darkness who cannot see anything. But if a bodhisattva gives charity without their mind abiding in any phenomenon, it is like a person with clear eyes seeing all sorts of things distinctly in the bright sunlight. Supporting in the future, if there is a virtuous man or woman who cannot upon recite this sutra, the Tathagata with a wisdom of Buddha will fully know and fully see that person. They will all attain immeasurable boundless merit, the merit of a whole upholding the sutra. Subordinate. Suppose a virtuous man or woman in the morning gives away as many bodies as there are grains of sand in Ganges river. Then at noon again gives away as many bodies as there are grains of sand in Ganges river. And in the evening once again gives away as many bodies as there are grains of sand in Ganges river, performing such act of giving with their bodies for countless hundreds of thousands of millions of years. If, however, there is another person who hears this sutra and gives rise to faith without resistance, and merge of that person who surpassed the former, How much more so if they copy this sutra, uphold it, read it, recite it, and explain it to others? Swarti. To summarize, this sutra possesses inconceivable, immeasurable, and boundless merit. The Tathagata has expounded this sutra for those who have set forth in the great vehicle, Mahayana, and for those who have set forth on the supreme vehicle. If there is a person who can uphold this sutra, read it, recite it, and widely explain it to others, the Tathagata fully knows and fully sees that person. Such a person will attain merit that is immeasurable, inexpressible, limitless, and beyond comprehension. These people are the ones who bear the Tathagata's unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Anyaktara Samyak Sambodhi. Why is this so sporty? Those who delight in the teachings of the lesser Viveka, Hinayana, cling to the notion of self, the notion of others, the notion of sentient beings, and the notion of longevity. Thus, they cannot understand, read, recite, or explain the sutra to others. Swarti, wherever the sutra is present, is where all beings of world, gods, humans, and asuras should make offering. Know that place is equivalent to a sutupa worthy of reverence. All should pay homage in circumambulate it and scatter virtuous flowers and incense there, purifying and clarifying the storehouse of karma. Furthermore, sporty, if a virtuous man or woman uphold this sutra, read it and recite it, and as a result, a despised or insulted by others, know that this person, due to the karmic offenses of past life, was destined to fall into an evil realm. However, by being despised by others in the present life, those past karmic offenses are extinguished, and they will surely attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Anyaktara Samyak Sambodhi. Moreover, suppose there is yet another person who in the future, during the final age, can uphold this sutra, read it, and recite it. In that case, the merit they gain will far exceed the merit I acquired by offering to all Buddhas, surpassing it not by hundredth parts, but by a million, billions, or any mathematical comparison. Sporty, if I were to fully describe the merit gained by a virtuous man or woman who in the final age to come uphold and recite this sutra, some people, upon hearing it, might become confused, doubtful, and unable to believe it. Swarti, you should know this. The meaning of this sutra is being conception, and its rewards are immeasurably vast. Ultimately, there is no self. At that time, Swarti addressed the Buddha, world-honored one. How should a virtuous man or woman who has given rise to the mind of unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment, Anyaktara Samyak Sambodhi, abide in that awakened mind, and how should they subdue the mind of affliction? The Buddha said to Swarti, if a virtuous man or woman has given rise to the mind of Anyaktara Samyak Sambodhi, they should give rise to these thoughts. I will liberate all sentient beings, yet have liberated all sentient beings. They should understand that in reality, no sentient beings has been liberated. Why is this so, Swarti? Because if a bodhisattva holds in the notion of self and the notion of others, the notion of sentient beings, or the notion of longevity. They are not a bodhisattva. Supported. The reason is that this awakening of Anattara Samyak Sambhurya arise price precisely in the no fixed truth. Swarty, what do you think? Has there some truth in the Tathagata attained in the presence of Dimpakara Buddha by which he realized Anattara Samyak Sambhuri? No, world old one, as I understand the meaning of what the Buddha has taught. When I were in the presence of Dimpakara Buddha, there were no specific truth by which you attain Anattara Samyak Sambhuri. The Buddha said, so it is, Subhorti. Indeed, it is in the realm where there is no fixed truth in the Tathagata attained Anattara Samyak Sambhuri. Subhorti. If there had been some fixed truth by which the Tathagata attained Anattara Samyak Sambhuri, then Dimpakara Buddha would not have bestowed upon me the prediction saying, in the future age you will surely become a Buddha named Sakamuni. It is purely because I attained Anattara Samyak Sambhuri in the realm where there is no fixed truth that Dimpakara Buddha bestowed this prediction upon me, saying, in a future age you will surely become a Buddha, and your name will be Sakamuni. Why is this so? Because Tathagata means one in accord with the suchness, tathata of all phenomena. Therefore, Subhorti, even if someone says that Tathagata attained Anattara Samyak Sambhuri, in reality the Tathagata attained it in the realm where there is no fixed truth. Subhorti, in the Anattara Samyak Sambhuri that the Tathagata has attained, there is neither reality nor unreality. Thus, the Tathagata says that all phenomena are the Buddha's Dharma. Subhorti, called all phenomena is not truly all phenomena. It is merely named all phenomena. Subhorti, it is like a person's body being exceedingly large. Subhorti said, world honored one, when the Tathagata speaks of a person's body being exceedingly large, it is not truly a large body. It's merely called a large body. The Buddha said, so it is, Subhorti. A bodhisattva is the same. If someone says, I have liberated countless sentient beings, they cannot be called a bodhisattva. Why is this so, Subhorti? Because one who does not cling to any fixed truth in their mind is called bodhisattva. Therefore, the Tathagata says that in all phenomena there is no self, no others, no sentient beings, and no longevity. Subhorti, if a bodhisattva says, I will adorn a Buddha land, they cannot be called a bodhisattva. Why? Because the adornment of the Buddha land is as spoken by the Tathagata is not truly adornment. It is merely called adornment. Subhorti, if a bodhisattva thoroughly penetrates the truth of no self, the Tathagata will call that person a true bodhisattva, a great being Mahasattva. See all as one. Subhorti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata possess the physical eye? Yes, world honored one. The Tathagata possesses the physical eye. Subhorti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata possess the divine eye? Yes, world honored one. The Tathagata possess the divine eye. Subhorti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata possess the wisdom eye? Yes, world honored one. The Tathagata possesses the wisdom eye. Subhorti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata possess the Dharma's eye? Yes, world honored one. The Tathagata possesses the Dharma's eye. Subhorti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata possess the Buddha's eye? Yes, world honored one. The Tathagata possesses the Buddha's eye. Subhorti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata ever spoken of the countless grains of sand in the Ganges River? River. Yes, so World Donald One. The Tathagata has spoken of the sands of the Ganges. Swarty, what do you think? If there were as many Buddha words as grains of sand in the Ganges River, would you say those are numbers? Exceedingly numbers. World Donald One. The Buddha said to Swarty. The Tathagata fully knows the minds of all sentient beings in those numbers words. Why is this so? Because all minds that the Tathagata speaks of are not truly minds, they are merely called minds. The reason, Swarty, is that the minds of the past cannot be grasped, and the minds present cannot be grasped. The and the minds of the future cannot be grasped. Universally transform the realm of Dharma. Swarty, do not say this. The Tathagata says that there is a Dharma of truth that I have spoken. Why? Because if someone says the Tathagata has spoken a Dharma of truth, this becomes a slander against the Tathagata, for they do not understand the meaning of what I have said. Swarty, to speak of truth is to speak of the abundance of truth. It is merely called speaking of truth. At that time, Swarty, whose name means bright wisdom, addressed the Buddha. One Donald One, in the future, will there be any sentient beings who, upon hearing these words of truth, can give rise to a mind of faith? The Buddha said, Swarty, do not speak of sentient beings or not sentient beings. Why is this so, Swarty? What is called sentient beings is spoken of by the Tathagata as not sentient beings. It is merely named sentient beings. The Tathagata of the Dharma body free from the form body. Sporty, what do you think? If a person were to fill the Trenchicolisim 3,000 great thousand words with the seven treasures and give them away widely in charity, would the merit gained by this person due to his this cause be great? Yes, World Honored One. This person would gain exceedingly great merit due to this cause. The Buddha said to Swarty, if a merit were something truly substantial, the Tathagata would not say that great merit is gained. It is purely because merit is inherently substantial that the Tathagata says that great merit is gained. The teaching of beyond words. Swarty, do not say this. The Tathagata thinks that there is a Dharma of truth that I have spoken. Why? Because if someone says the Tathagata has spoken the Dharma of truth, this becomes a slander against the Tathagata, for they do not understand the meaning of what I have said. Swarty, to speak of truth is to speak of absence of truth. It is merely called speaking of truth. At that time, Swarty, whose name means bright wisdom, addressed the Buddha. World honored one, in this future, will there be any sentient beings who, upon hearing this word of truth, can give rise to a mind of faith? The Buddha said, Swarty, do not speak of sentient beings or not sentient beings. Why is this so, Swarty? What is called sentient beings is spoken by the Tathagata as not sentient beings. It is merely named sentient beings. 20, 19, 17. Furthermore, Swarty, this truth is equal with no higher or lower, and thus it is called Anaktara Samyak Sambhari, unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment by cultivating all virtues, dharmas, without the notion of self, others, sentient beings, or longevity. One attained Anaktara Samyasambhuri. Sporty, what is called virtuous dharmas, is spoken by the Tathagata, is not truly being virtuous dharma. It is merely named virtuous dharma. Merit and wisdom cannot be compared. Sporty, suppose a person were to take heaps of the seven treasures as vast as Mountain Sumeru, the king of the mountains, in all Trinchilocosm, 3,000 great thousand word, and give them widely in charity. If, however, another person were to uphold, read, recite, and expound to others, even just 4 lines verses from this 금강반야바라며 경, the merit of the former would not amount to even a hundredth part of the latter, nor 100,000 millionth part, nor could it compare even if all possible numerical measures were gathered together. Transforming others, yet nothing is done. Sporty, what do you think? Do not say that the Tathagata sings, I must liberate sentient beings. Sporty, do not entertain such a thought. Why? Because in reality there is no sentient beings for the Tathagata to liberate. If there were sentient beings for the Tathagata to liberate, it would mean the Tathagata holds notion of self, others, sentient beings, and longevity. Sporty, when the Tathagata speaks of a self, it means there is no such a thing as a self. Only ordinary people speak of a self. Sporty, what is called an ordinary person is spoken by the Tathagata as not truly an ordinary person. It is merely named ordinary person. The Dharma body is not a being. Sporty, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be seen through the 32 marks of a great being? Sporty replied, yes, the Tathagata can be seen through the 32 marks of great being. The Buddha said, Sporty, if the Tathagata could be seen through the 32 marks of a great being, then a real turning sage king would also be Tathagata. Sporty addressed the Buddha. Well done, old one, as I understand the meaning of what the Buddha has said. The Tathagata cannot be seen through the 32 marks of a great being. At that time, the well-honored one spoke these verses. If one speaks, if one seeks me through forms or searches for me through sound, they walk a perverse path and will never see the Tathagata. It is not ultimately non-existence. Subordinate, if you think that the Tathagata attained Anaktara Samyak Sambhuri because he lacks the perfect marks, does not entertain such a thought. Please do not say that the Tathagata attained Anaktara Samyak Sambhuri because he lacks perfect marks. Svorti, if you think that one who has given rise to the mind of Anyaktara Samyak Sambhuri assert that all phenomena are cut off and utterly non-existence, do not entertain such a thought. Why? Because the one who has given rise to the mind of Anyaktara Samyak Sambhuri does not say that all phenomena are cut off and utterly non-existence as the truth, neither receiving nor craving. Subordinate, if a bodhisattva were to give away the seven treasures, filling as many worlds as there are grains of sand in Ganges River, and if another person realized the truth of no self in all phenomena and attain enlightenment, the merge of this later bodhisattva would surpass that of the former. Why, Sporty? Because all bodhisattva do not receive merit. Sporty asked the Buddha, World Honored One, who is it that bodhisattva do not receive merit? The Buddha replied, Swarty, a bodhisattva does not cling to the merit they have produced. Therefore, it is said that they do not receive merit. The dignity is profound. Swarty, if someone says the Tathagata comes, goes, sits, or lies down, the person does not understand the meaning of what I have said. Why? Because the Tathagata neither comes from anywhere nor goes anywhere. Thus, he is called the Tathagata. Truth and phenomena are not two. Swarty, if a virtuous man or woman were to pulverize the trenchicalism into fine dust, what do you think? Would that fine dust be numbers? Exceedingly numbers were not all the one. Why? Because if the fine dust were a real, substantial entity, the Buddha would not have spoken of it as fine dust. What is the reason? The fine dust spoken of by the Buddha is not truly fine dust. It is merely called fine dust. World honored one. The trench colosseum spoken of by the Tathagata is not truly a word. It is merely called a word. Why? Because if a word were real, substantial entity, it would be an absolute singular form. Yet an absolute singular form spoken of by the Tathagata is not truly an absolute singular form. It is merely called a singular form. Swarty, an absolute singular form cannot be expressed in words. Only ordinary sentient beings cling to it. Do not give rise to views. Swarty, if someone says that the Tathagata has spoken of views such as self, others, sentient beings, or longevity, what do you think, Sporty? Does this person correctly understand the truth I have spoken? No, well-honored one, this person does not understand your spoken truth. Why? Because the views of a self, others, sentient beings, and longevity that the world-honored one has spoken of are not indeed views of a self, others, sentient beings, or longevity. Sporty, one who has given rise to the mind of Anyaktara Samyak Sambodhi should know, see, believe, and realize all phenomena in this way, without giving rise to the notion of truth. Sporty, what is called the notion of truth is spoken by the Tathagata as not truly a notion of truth. It is merely named a notion of truth. The manifest body is not real. Sporty, if a person were give away 7 treasures, filling countless anaktara sambhuri, incalculable words, and if a virtuous man or woman who has given rise to the bodhisattva mind holds this sutra, even just 4 lines, verses recited and expounded to others, their merit would far surpass that of the former. How should one expound it to others? By not being swayed by thoughts or phenomena, remaining in suchness, unmoving. The reason is this: all conditioned phenomena are like dreams, illusions, bubbles, shadows, light dew, or lightning. Thus should they be contemplated. Having fully expounded this sutra, the Buddha concluded, the elders Swarty, along with the monks, nuns, laymen, lay women, and all the gods, humans, and asura of the world who heard the Buddha's words were filled with great joy, believed, received, and practiced it. Namo Gungang Banya Paramilyo Namo Gungang Banya Paramilyo Namo Gungang Banya Paramilyo. Hi Sujit JS. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. That was a English version of Gungang Banya Paramilyo. And the last phrase is Ekingang Paramijina Namo Bhagavate Purajana Paramita Om Nata Ditita Shime Shime Shibina Bina Namo Bhagavate Puraditi Ampurati Riti Riti Miriti Juriti Juriti Ushiri Buya Buya Subha Namo Bhagavate Purajana Paramita Om Nata Ditita Shime Shime Shibina Bina Namo Bhagavate Puraditi Ampurati Riti Riti Miriti Juriti Juriti Ushiri Buya Buya Subha Namo Bhagavate Purajana Paramita Om Nata Ditita Shime Shime Shibina Bina Namo Bhagavate Puraditi Ampurati Iriti Iriti Miriti Juriti Juriti Ushiri Buya Buya Subha Gamgang Om Amukapaila Janama Mudaramanya Om Dini Sama Gangang Jinjinama Om Dini Sama Om Dini Sama 오니샤공도 보고의 샤등 여정선 실발 보리신 동이 건강계계 공성불도 건강만야 바람일 경지 한여시함 선남자 선여인 소지독성 자경 찬일건 여정 건강연 30만 편 오르시명과 비중선제 요구권 내래 실년 비산년 여시연 여자연 29 40만 지지를 느꼈느냐 문화는 일상이래 여가인년 여자다 버려상이래 편지득 건강의 어머니와 하분년 건강연 전 여자다 벌년 세상 모범 방영 환월 분명 기지 영문 종려시 하문지 신수 봉영 도경 5149절 69부 200부 9볼 51 대전 85 열애 37 보사 138 수불이 26 남자 선여인 38 아이고 36 중생 31 아이오나 36여시 29 안녕 다른 3불이 21 5시 18 보도 13 망하 42 매진절개 30 절개 절개 32 38 공동 8정 오바라민 사수 장원 사사당 사랑 자시사건 선인여 서기가리모 알전 진저여 몽서 전주지혜 시영여 상인상 중대상 소자상 일일모하게 인견 중생견 소자견 상비군예 소나실 사고견 나무군가 만냐 바라밀경 나무군가 만냐 바라밀경 나무군가 만냐 바라밀경 And once again, Sujith J. Ace. Hi. And Reeds. Say hi. It was kind of late. And bye.